born and raised up on South St. John's Lane, which is, you know, the Ellicott City area, and I was coming down from when the Agnes flood hit, coming down and taking some people back to our house. So I was very familiar with Ellicott City. But after I graduated college, I was a therapist at a psychiatric hospital off the street, up College Avenue, which some of you might remember of Taylor Manor, which was bought out by Shepherd Pratt. So I had to go down Main Street, not Main Street, every day. And I knew a lot of great artists, like clay and different things like that. And it was beginning to get the bug that maybe I needed to work for myself instead of working for a company. And I decided, you know, looking, that place is for rent, and that place is for rent. And so I decided to take the plunge. And I figured, well, if I screw this up, I'll just go back to what I was doing. And so I figured, why not? So I rented, it's where Maryland and Maine come together. Matcha Time is in there now. I had half of it. And it was tiny. You had to like single file around a table, and that was about it. And at the time, another neighbor of mine that I grew up with had gotten drunk one night at the Phoenix and ran in and destroyed the storefront. So my neighbor went and rebuilt that. I moved in there for a couple of years. And I used to go over to Villa Market, across the street from me, which is the building that I ended up buying. And I would go over there for, like, get something to eat, lunch or whatever. And one day, I heard that Ray, who owned Villa Market, died right at the cash register. And maybe I'll die one day in the cash register too. Won't be a bad way to go. You know, but at that time I'm thinking, you know, my quarters were so cramped and my inventory was growing. It was like, okay, I thought, well, I don't know what Nikki wants to do. But eventually I went over there and I never mentioned it to her. You know, I just, that's just a tack. But one day I went over there and she was just looking so bummed, so like, I don't want to be here kind of thing. And I said, you know, Nikki, if you ever want out, just let me know, because I need to expand. I said, no pressure or anything, just if you ever feel like it. So I left it at that, and she's like, she gave me a call and said, I need to sell. So that's how I got the building, which is in between where Dean Hollow was and Phoenix. And the interesting thing being, like, they had the deli section, you know, a meat section and all that kind of refrigerated kitchen stuff. So I called up Taylor Manor, where I used to work, and I knew that they were expanding and needed another kitchen. So I called them and they came down, because I didn't want to haul all that stuff, those walk-in freezers and all that stuff. Mr. Fisher came down, he bought everything, all the equipment that was in there. And that was enough for the down payment for the building. Because I didn't have a whole lot of money right then. So that really helped him out, so he didn't have to spend a fortune on new equipment. And I was able to walk into settlement. So I opened it, and my poor, ex-husband and his manager of his shops came in and they built all the walls, you know, put the wood on all the walls, built all the shelves and stuff. So I decided to open the business because at the time I knew the great artists, but they didn't have any place to sell. Like most pottery and stuff was kind of normal. Like I knew people would be crazy, you know, elephant jaws, pick up their head, and, you know, that kind of crazy stuff. And I used to have my friends over and like a Tupperware party, you know what I mean? It was like a little pottery party. So I figured, you know, I'll just experiment with this and see what happens. And the store was very successful. So after I moved in, I moved in there and lived in the apartment upstairs. So I took over both apartments and raised my kids there. And then in hindsight, after the floods and after the buildings are torn down, it was hard to lose the location of the business because I never envisioned that I would have to give it up, that I'd be gone. I worried about the tax code coming up, but it took me until like 2011 when we had the first flood. It didn't occur to me that we were going to have downhill flooding. So, but I regret and feel the saddest as far as the loss is that my kids can't go, this is where I grew up. You know what I mean? I don't know if it bothers me more than the store, which I relocated up on Upper Main. In the 2016 flood, well, we had the 2011, my whole basement flooded, and then 2016 hit, and I'm like, oh God. But then the most amazing thing happened is that I was feeling like despair, you know, and like, what do I do now? And this miracle happens of all these people. I had no clue who these people are, like Steve sitting back there in that little red shirt. People like him, and like people came out of nowhere to help. They had nothing to gain. They had no investment. And it was filthy. It was like so hot, no electricity, broken glass, there was mud up to here. I mean, it was awful for those people to show up in my life and help me, because I couldn't have done it. There's no way. I would have walked away because I knew I couldn't physically do it or emotionally. But when you have people that are complete strangers that have such big hearts that show up and help, I couldn't give up. I can't let them down. And so we rebuilt, and I feel so great that we rebuilt, so happy, because it really felt like an accomplishment. For the money, for the aggravation, for all the time, and the, you know, everything. So I was feeling proud. And I was proud of all the people and the new friends that I met. I mean, these are people that are going to be lifelong friends. And then when 2018, it happened again, it was like, oh crap. You know, these people, I felt bad for myself, but it was my investment, it was my building, it was my loss, it was my responsibility. But to know that those people showed up again, and even more, knowing that they had just basically thrown away, you know, half a year, I mean, doing the most grueling, disgusting work, that they showed up again. I mean, that truly is the silver lining that I will forever be grateful. It taught me a life lesson about perseverance that I needed to learn, that these kind of people that are miracles came into my life. So after 2018, I mean, that sucker took the wall, it took the floor. I mean, you could walk right inside the door, you look down and there's the river. It's like, and we had a little strip. It was like this, but we had a little strip. And I knew I could never go back in that building. That whatever the county had planned for the building, I knew it wouldn't happen quick enough for me to risk investing. I mean, it already took all my life savings. So I remember vividly, I lost my home, went to live with my son, who had just had his like bachelor pad on a house. You know what I mean? Really proud, and then his mother comes to move in. You know, I ruined everything. He had like 3 roommates and all this stuff. And he finally got rid of me. You know, just a couple months before it flooded again, I finally moved back in. And then, so he was like, we got along great. Even, you know, considering that your mother moves in with you, I mean, we made the best of it. And it was a very, very special memory that I have of our time together. So he just got rid of me, and then had to give him a phone call. Guess who's coming back? He's like, oh, okay, Mom. So I moved in with him, and I remember knowing that I could not go back in that building. Knowing that I spent out. I mean, I just invested everything in my life. into coming back. So I didn't know if I had the money, I didn't know where, and I lost my home, I didn't know where I was going to live. So like there was like nothing. And I remember, luckily he had a pool. And I remember sitting in that floaty day after day going, don't think, because my thoughts were spinning. Like there's so much uncertainty. I had my life, you know, before the first flood, I had it together. And then it's the second one is what did me in, you know, financially and otherwise. So I let my brain just tell my brain to shut up, trust in God or karma or whatever it is that you have to trust when you don't really feel it. You have to try to just let it go and let whatever happens, happen. So luckily it has a good ending. I love the house that I'm in. I was able to move up the street. Don't like paying rent, but you know, what do you do? But it's a good store. And you know, the silver lining that I always think back, and when I go by, like Steve goes by, I have different feelings. Like I almost get numb to them, because what's the point of regret? You know, it is what it is, what it is. It's gone, and I just got to be happy with where I am now, the house I have now, my new little cat, and anybody who wants a kitten, let me know. I rescued a cat, she was pregnant. Didn't know that. And, you know, I'm good with the store where it is, and I'm still surviving. And though I looked at other places to move out of Ellicott City, afraid of what was going to happen again, I knew everything else got crossed off the list, and this is my home, and this is where I want to start my business, it's where I want to end my business. Thank you.